So music's already going, and it just pretty much fades into it. You want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Reagan.
Be a little closer. Yeah. It's like directional, so it's got to be like facing your mouth exactly. Okay. Just like that.
Okay, cool.
Sorry, you were saying.
Oh, no, you're good. I'm Reagan, Reagan Mauldin Tattoos on Instagram, and I do tattoos, and I just kind of run around making art, so.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
How long have you been tattooing for?
6 years, but it'll be 7 in August, so.
Word.
I'm really excited. I want to hit 10, and then I want to be like, oh, I'm like geriatric now, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. How does that feel tattooing for that long? Like, I assume when you started, you couldn't even fathom years of tattooing. You were like, I hope I'm creative in a month from now. Or were you just like endlessly creative?
I'm knock on wood. Like, I think I've just been making art since I was a kid, and I just learned that I wanted to do tattoos very young, and so I was like, okay, cool. And I'm like, I'll stop tattooing when I'm dead. And I know now that that's like naive because it, wears on your body, but I hope to tattoo into like my 50s.
What is like the main wearing on your body? Is it just like being bent over in your wrist?
I'm gonna fully turn into a shrimp. Like,
that's
just
crazy.
Morph into one.
Do you not have like tilting bed things with you lock your feet in and you like stretch your back out?
No.
I don't know what those are called.
The aversion table?
Yes, that's what it
no,
is.
Because I don't want to have to call the fire department to be like, can you come get me off my aversion table?
Do people get stuck in those?
Yeah.
Oh, word.
Yeah, they do.
I had no idea.
Yeah. No, I do stretch, though, and I walk a lot. I've been prioritizing my health this year, mental and physical, because I think with tattooing, it's so easy to get, like, lost in the sauce, where you're just, like, tattooing all day, going home, drawing, or just not stretching, and just being like, okay, I'm just going to go to bed and wake up and do it all over again.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to, like, make time for it.
Do you find yourself, like, bartering for things? Because I didn't know bartering was such a big deal in the tattoo industry. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't realize people did that as much as they did, because I just assumed, like, money is king. But I do see, knowing so many people that tattoo, that, like, they'll be like, I'll be in their shop or something, and I'll be like, dude, where do you get this couch? And they're like, oh, I tattooed somebody for that couch.
Yeah.
Or something, or, like, you trade crafts, like maybe somebody gives you massages because your back's fucked from tattooing, and then you're like, yo, I'll give you a discount or I'll do tattoos. Did you know that going into it, that it was like that, or is that something you were like, oh, I can use my craft to help better my life as well?
I think I was kind of able to see right from the jump, like, you can, like, barter your skills and, like, trade services. My mentor, I saw him do it. Both of my mentors, because I had 2.
Yeah.
But, like, the first shop that I ever worked in, just the shop was so professionally run, but you can also, like, have a lot of freedom with, like, yeah, you are going to trade for this really cool piece of art, or you're going to trade for this, like, woodworkers services where they build you out like a counter. So
yeah,
it's really cool that you can kind of, like, skate around the monetary, like, requirements of, like, goods and services.
Yeah, you just trade time.
Yeah. But I found, like, massage has been, like, the most even trade, because sometimes, like, it's not necessarily even. Like, if somebody's, like, making you, I don't know, something that took them 2 hours, and, like, you're trading, like, 4 or 5 hours of, like, tattoo services because that's what they want. Like, so you just got to have, like, a little bit of, like, okay, let's even this out,
I feel you. Yeah, I've always thought about, like, there's nothing I do that I can do that with. Like, I mean, with the podcast, you're not exactly, it's not the same. Like, with, when I think of things like what you do, I think of, like, tattooing, massaging, welding. Like, I know those are weird things, but they're, like, trades that you carry for life. And not just anybody can pick up and do those things.
Yeah.
Literally what we do, anybody can do. I could just talk into a mic. Anybody can just talk. There's no barrier of entry to podcasting there is a barrier of entry to tattooing because you have to be good at it.
Yeah.
Like podcasting, there is not that. Like, arguably, I'm not good at it, you know? Like, literally, you don't have to be good at it to be. Like, there's, like, I don't know. I didn't know this before I started. There's no barrier of entry on YouTube either. Like,
Okay.
you don't have to have so many subscribers before you upload a video.
Mm-hmm.
There's countless people on YouTube that have no subscribers, no views, no anything, and they'll upload every day, you know, like just hoping that somebody's going to watch. And it's like a wasteland on YouTube. But I always thought like, oh, you got to get like a publishing type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there is things like that for like Apple Music and Spotify, but not for YouTube, which is nice.
Yeah.
But it also goes both ways. Like it allows creatives to do whatever they want on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then it also allows like crazies, like they're like the most outlandish on both sides to be on there, which is very nice because like the freedom of speech thing to it is beneficial for creative people. But
Yeah.
like, but with tattooing and stuff, like I've always thought of a fear of mine if I ever became one, which I will never become a tattoo artist. I'm just not skilled like that. Is like, how do you come up with anything? Like, I know people come to you with an idea, but like, I've never gone to an artist and was like, this is exactly what I wanted, and that's exactly how it ended up. Normally,
Yeah.
they put their own spin or like flair or taste on it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how. This is coming from somebody who doesn't tattoo, so I don't understand the concept of being able to put your filter on it. Like, how does that? It just comes to you.
I think at this point it does, but when I first started, like, you're not good at tattoos, but that's why, like, when you get an apprenticeship, or I think you should spend time in tattoo shops first so that you can get a taste for, like, what the culture is like, so you can
Word.
see tattoo related art, and then you just get inspired from there. Because, like, when I was drawing in middle and high school, like, I wasn't drawing tattoos until I saw LA Ink with like Kat Von D on there.
Yeah, I
And
remember that show.
I know she's not like the most favorable now, but like that was really inspiring to see like a heavily tattooed woman who did portraits, which is not at all what I do, but I'm like, I want to look like that. Oh my God, I want to do that. And so my personal style has always been sort of whimsical, but I started out doing American traditional flash, and I just copied what I saw over and over and over again until I built that technical skill. And then secretly at home, I would do my own stuff because my mentor would just be like, make a flash sheet and show it to me and I'll critique it. And so I would draw Sailor Jerry, or like Cherry Creek was another like flash set or like a book that you could just copy. And I think that really got my brain thinking, okay, this is how to make tattooable art. You know, the lines have to be spaced out a certain amount. Like, there has to be black in color tattoos. Black is the foundation for the tattoo. So he was like, as long as there's enough contrast in there and the lines are spaced out and it's like a well-rounded composition, like, that's a good tattoo. And now, or at that point, he was like, okay, so now, like, how are you going to tattoo that? I'm like, oh, I have no idea. So once you get the art down, then you actually have to learn how to do it. So that's its whole own animal, like figuring out like how to work in skin.
Is, because you said a few things there, is American traditional like, is that more this pocket of America, or is that like everybody starts off typically with that style of tattooing? Because it seems like, I've only ever lived in Pensacola and Jacksonville for like 2 years, but I was 10 through 12 when I was over there, so I didn't know anything about tattoos really, just seeing people in the convenience stores and stuff. But is that like our area's style, or does literally everybody start typically with that because it's like the foundation?
Yeah, I mean, it typically does start with that because like they're small, they're easy to read, and it's like more digestible than if somebody were to try to pick up portraiture ornamental, which I think is like uses the same elements that traditional tattoos have, but American traditionals were like started by Sailor Jerry, and they were meant to like bang out quickly. You know, he was tattooing like sailors and military, but he studied those designs from Japan. So like the saturation and like the bold lines, he was like, I'm gonna take that and bring it to the West Coast and like just make it quick, you know? Like he kind of started like street shops. So it's kind of from all over, but I was told when I got into it that this is what you start out with because this is how you can set the foundation really well. And if you can do an American traditional tattoo, then you can start stepping into other styles and do it a little bit easier than rather start with something that's really difficult and intricate because you're like, it's harder, not smarter.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
How did you find the style that you like? Like, obviously you were inspired by like people on TV and I assume like artwork you've seen on people. But like, what was the most impactful thing that happened that you're like, I think I like that style? Because before you answer that, I will say I do think the stuff that we get tattooed, like I don't know how long you've been getting tattooed, but I will say it's been like 16 or 17 years. So like the first stuff I got tattooed, I wouldn't now. Like I like different stuff now. Not saying that I would take any of it back. I like, for the most part, what it's turned out to be. But if I started off from scratch today, my art would look way different now.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I don't know what really inspired the beginning stuff. Probably like Vans Warped Tour and that style of music and era and just seeing the frontmen and just like being inspired by that type of environment. But I don't know. That's where I'm at now. Like the stuff I'm getting now is so different than what I already had.
I definitely wouldn't get the same. Well, some of them, yes, but I think me finding my style was much easier when I was just exposed to more art. I really love neo-traditional tattoos, ornamental tattoos. Alphonse Mucha is a Czech painter. It's like Art Nouveau, Art Deco style. I had that in my house growing up. Like my mom had paintings or like prints that he had made. So I would just look at that and it was very whimsical, but the line work is very readable and simple, and it's ladies surrounded by flowers, which is pretty much what I do now. But I've always been into moons, and so when I started tattooing, I did a couple of moons, but when I moved to Florida, I started working with Three Fates Tattoo, and DJ and Felix Miner were the owners at the time, and I remember DJ saying, "What do you want to do?" I'm like, "I don't know, man. I just want to do tattoos." He's like, "Okay, well, you've been doing that for a while. What is your style? Like, only post that." He's like, "If you want to do something, post that, and people are going to come." And so I was like, I want to do moons and, like, flowers and stuff. And people didn't really, like, pick up the moons very quickly. But I was doing, like, flowers and some anime pieces, but, like, it's usually just whimsical shit. Like, anything nature-related or, like, witchy or in that realm of, like, just cool imagery. I felt like I would get on Pinterest and just look at, like, aesthetic photos of,
oh
like...
my God. Pinterest is... I don't mean to come at girls, but Pinterest is like y'all's Bible. Every girl I know, it has like you could never get through all the pictures they've saved on their own. It's crazy. I didn't even know you could do, like, I just learned you could do that on Instagram. Like, you can save things to a thing.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I think they stole that from Pinterest, but...
Maybe. I mean, it's like what Tumblr was. Like, it's a...
Yeah, I never got on Tumblr.
Oh, you missed a good era. I love Tumblr. You create this mood board. So, like, you have, like, the Pinterest tattoos, which are, like, usually, like, simple, like, words or, like, a wave or a sun, and people shit on it, but, like, I don't like to yuck people's interest. Like, just because I wouldn't personally get it doesn't mean that it's not a cool idea. Like, it means a lot to people. But, like, my Pinterest board is filled with plants and animals and different people to like reference. It's
Yeah.
reference material. There's a lot of DIY stuff on there too. Like it's really just a collection of things that you like that you can reference and look at all in one.
I think what's funny about that is like I don't have Pinterest. I don't even. Isn't it just an app or is it also a website?
It's both.
Okay, so I don't have either. If I see something I like, I screenshot it. So my album or my photo reel is just like random photos of things or whatever, and then it's like pictures of screenshots. I'm like an old dude.
Yep,
you know? Like my dad does the same thing. He'll send me something and it'll have like his battery level, the time of day, like it's all this stuff, and I'm like, dude, all right, we're the same person. That's terrible.
How often do you lose those pictures where you're like, hold on, let me scroll for a second? Where you
Yeah. I mean, lose them, they're in the phone. Being able to find them, that's different. They're not lost. I just can't find it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You want to be able to like pull up something quick.
Yeah.
And like when I'm consulting with people, I'm like, let's get on Pinterest. First I talk to them and like figure out like kind of like what they're wanting, and then I'm like, let's look here at like different aesthetics or like different tattoos in the style that you might want. And I'm not going to copy somebody else's tattoo, but if it's like, if they want like neo-traditional raven, I'm going to look at how other artists render that, because I'm like, ooh, okay, it's clever the way that they saturate it here and then blend it out into this color. And usually I can tell which color they use or which line weight they used and like where they're placing dark tones and like using the skin as a highlight and like where on the body. So I think it's just constant exposure on how to make a better tattoo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Pinterest is like an underrated tool. And
yeah, I will say I like the elaborateness of being able to save them into like different catalogs or albums or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. That probably helps it like narrow it down.
Yeah.
When you're talking about tattooing though, it sounds like you very much, without insulting you, it sounds like you nerd out about it. Like it sounds like you know like a lot about what you're doing. So like when you read something or see something or take in a new tattoo, you can replicate it. Do you think you have to do that to be really good, or is there like people in the industry that they can just be great from nothing? Like you walked in and we were watching Girls Yeah Right skate video from like 2011, and like there are some people in skateboarding that can just be a pro in like 3-4 years, which is unheard of. It's very like you are the exception if you do that, but there are some people in life that are just unbelievably talented at something almost without trying.
I don't think I'm necessarily that. Like I've worked really hard to like get to this point and make my technical foundation in art stronger, but I will say like my best friend Dave, like he's kind of like that. Like he was a painter and was a professor at a college before he started tattooing, and so like he had a really strong foundation in classical art and just a strong understanding of it. And so whenever he came to be the apprentice at Three Fates, like he was just picking things up like that, and it was kind of incredible to watch. And I'm like, how? And like he's been doing it 3 years now, and I would argue that we're like neck and neck. Like I think our technical foundation is pretty much the same, but I think because he was immersed in art the way he was, I think that's what helps. So I think I love nerding out about tattooing because like it's all I can think about. It's all I ever wanted to do, and I feel really blessed to have fallen into something that makes me feel so like good inside. Like I get so excited. I don't know. It's like whatever people are passionate about, you get to see them like find flow in that and like fully like lose themselves in it. And like I feel like Dave and I are both able to do that. And I mean, even like Vic and Allie too, the other artists that we work with, like you can tell when somebody's just extremely passionate. And I'm extremely passionate, and I'm extremely determined to be better than I was yesterday.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll be great. I don't think I'm great yet, but I'm doing all right.
I think you'll be great as long as you cannot buy or like pay for enthusiasm. Like anything you do in life, if you're not enthusiastic about it, you won't ever reach the top and whatever that top is relative to you. So maybe it's not the top of whatever industry you're at. It could just be the top of you. Like it could be your peak. But you'll never reach that if you don't have that like drive or enthusiasm about it. Like me and Hilton watch UFC and MMA and all that and jiu-jitsu, and like the best people in the world love it. There's nobody that's doing it just for a paycheck that gets to be the best. You know? Like you have to be in love with a lot of parts of it, and I'm sure there's some parts that get like redundant, so you get kind of like, okay, I'm burnt out on this, so you need to switch things up, which always kind of makes me wonder whenever I go into like a tattoo shop. Like if you get, sometimes you'll go years without getting tattooed. And then, I mean, you're an artist, so you're in there all the time, so maybe that's a little different. But like, I think I went like at 1.7 years without getting any tattoos at all.
Wow.
Because like I was getting them all the time, and I had just gotten my belly tattooed, and I was like, mentally, I was like done. Because I was like, I'm just going to hold off for a while. And it was just like literally a quarter of my belly. So all this was just an outline. But like this was solid color. And I was like, man, this looks dumb as shit. So 7 years later, I was like fed up with not having it, and I finished it. But like mentally, I was just like, I need a break from just getting tattooed. Do you ever walk into a shop, like clearly you work there, and you're just like, I just need a long break from tattooing? Or like I do jiu-jitsu, so I can go into a jiu-jitsu gym, and yeah, it's the same gym. It's literally the most boring looking thing. It's just a mat and walls. So it's not like anything exciting looking at, and the only thing that makes it exciting is the other people. So I don't ever get bored going in there. So I can assume maybe you don't, but do you ever run into those like roadblocks where you're like, man, I kind of don't want to be here today, and then you start your day, and then you're like, okay, that wasn't that bad?
Yeah, I mean, I think especially when you're doing something over and over again, and I mean, I'm doing different projects with people, and you know, you're working with different personalities, so that's definitely like a way to keep things fresh. But when I'm feeling burnout, like sometimes I'm like, okay, well, how can I maybe just like take a mental break, and I'll go like to the beach, or if I have an extended period of time off, like I'll go on a vacation and just kind of like take myself out of my routine. But when I'm feeling like I don't want to do this, I feel like I have to check myself, because I'm like, okay, well, you don't want to do this, but you're making something permanent for somebody. Like, find a way to be excited about it. Like, how can, it's like, honestly, like a challenge. It's like a game where I'm like, okay, how can I find it today? Because like sometimes, like especially when I'm struggling mentally, like if it's really bad, I'll call my client and just say, hey, like I'm off. It's not going to be a good day, which is rare. But if I'm like struggling, I'm like, how can I pour this energy into the tattoo and like make it really awesome for them? And it sounds so like silly saying out loud, but like I just try to pour my love into it. And I'm like, okay, how can I turn this like angsty whatever into love and a good experience for this person? And normally I come around, I'm like, damn, that was really cool. And I was just able to kind of like pivot my perspective, because there's a lot of people doing things that they hate every day, and they don't have the choice to like not do it. They have to, or they have a family, and I'm just very lucky to be able to draw with people and collaborate on these really cool ideas. So I'm like, suck it the fuck up, right? Like, get over it. And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm in a good wave right now. So
that's nice. I do feel like whenever I have those like struggle days, sometimes it could just be like you're at the convenience store and somebody in front of you just is polite for no reason, and then you're like, damn, what am I really bitching about, you know? Like they could just change just a little like butterfly effect type situation, and it just makes you feel like reflective on yourself. Like, what was I thinking?
yeah,
Like, things are not that bad.
I call it counting my chickens. It's counting your blessings. Like when you're feeling like that, it's much easier to like I also call it wallering, where you're like wallowing in your like whatever. And I think it's okay to take a moment for that, not to like discount it or like dismiss it. Because if there's something serious going on, I think it's important to pay attention to that. But I think you just have to count your blessings because life is short and there's beauty all around. There's bad things to think about at every corner, but I got a lot of really cool things going on, and so I just try to focus on that. And like I get to work with my friends, and this town is like turned out to be a really cool place to be, especially for tattoos. Like there's so many shops, there's so many cool artists locally. I'm like, this is sick. I mean, I wouldn't want to be spending my late 20s anywhere else. Like, yeah, I never thought I would be here. I just didn't want to come to Florida, and now I'm like, damn, that was the best decision I ever made.
Where did you come from?
Georgia.
Oh, word. That's not so bad. Georgia looks pretty. Like, I like hiking and the scenery there. Mm-hmm. Georgia's so vast that you can literally go to all corners of it and find something to do.
Yeah, I miss it.
What brought you to Florida from Georgia, though?
My family and the shop that I was working at, it just wasn't working out there anymore. Mm. And I knew that in order for me to grow as a tattooer in the way that I wanted, I had to go. And my friend and I had a conversation about it, and she took over the studio, and now it's Sacred Sparrow. Like she rebranded it, and that's her studio. And then I'm like, I want to go work in a shop full of other people so that I can continue to like learn and just build on my foundation, because I just didn't feel like it was strong enough. And yeah, that's when I started to figure out my footing. And like DJ and Felix, I like gave them one of my tattoos. I was like, rip me to shreds, tell me what I need to do. And I mean, they were constructive about it. They were like, these lines don't connect, your saturation's not here, your blend isn't smooth, but like here's how to do it. And I always like admired that, because they didn't say you fucking suck. They were like, here is physically how to make your stuff better. And I would just watch everyone in the shop do their different style tattoos, and I would just be like soaking it up like a sponge, because I'm like, oh, I like the way that they like blended that color into that color. And I really want to like give Felix and DJ credit. Like they really helped me like understand how to technically apply a tattoo. And
those are the people from Georgia?
No. They're Three Fates. They live in Chattanooga right now. But they took me in. Like I was struggling at the shop that I came from, and a young tattooer. I think I've been tattooing like 2 years, maybe 3, and was like, I don't really have enough experience to go like waltz into a shop and be like, I'm ready to work. I was like, they kind of took a chance on me, and it ended up working out. But they took me in, and they really like showed me this is how tattooing can be. It can be like a family. It can be nurturing. And then they had like other artists come through, and it ended up being like 8 people at one point, all just tattooing in like this one big open area. And it was like really fun. And it was cool to like look over, like, what are you working on? Oh, that's really cool. And it just felt like this big collective of like fun stuff, fun energy going on.
Do you feel like that's rare? Because I've been to a lot of shops, and I mean, I've been getting tattooed for like since 2008 or something like that. And it feels like when I first got tattooed at a place called Tit for Tat. Mm-hmm. But then the second place where I got like a few big pieces was Chaos off W Street. Yeah, it doesn't even exist anymore. But the dude that I got tattooed, like, you're just another person when you have nothing tattooed, right? Like, you no visible tattoos, and you come into the shop and get a tattoo. At the time, at least, they were like, what do you want? And they just did flash. Mm-hmm. So I just would pick a piece of flash and got that tattooed on me. Well, the dude was, like, really bad off coke. Like, he was known for being just, like... And I just thought that's how he was. Oh. Like, he's just high-strung and, like, all over the fucking place. And got a bunch of work done by him. And then I don't even know who he is. I don't know his name. None of that stuff.
Oh, no.
Like, that's been so long ago. But felt like the shops that I was getting tattooed at when I was younger was, like... people were just hard as fuck on people. And like, if somebody wanted to start getting tattooed, they were like dumb. They're like, this dumb fucking person wants to, like, they just there was no support in the room. It didn't feel like, and it
Yeah.
feels like, at least from, I don't know what like, I'm not a tattoo artist. What do you call us?
Your
People.
client.
Okay.
Or a collector.
A collector. So as a collector, I don't know how prevalent that vibe is in the industry now, but it seems like, from like my side of things, it seems like it's a newer thing. And maybe it was different in Georgia, or maybe it's different now in the culture, but I just recently have been to places where it seems like the vibe is cooler. Like, it's more open to talk about things. Like, it's more like, when I first started getting tattoos, like, you get this. That's what you're getting, dude. You don't like that, then you can go somewhere else. I was like, damn.
Yeah. There are a lot of assholes in the
Yeah.
industry.
But it's like, I didn't know if it was the person, because it's like, I could tell the person himself was an asshole. But I couldn't tell if that was just like someone, if I go to a different shop, that's just what they're going to say there too. They just might be a little nicer about it. Because,
Yeah.
like, they wouldn't tell you why it couldn't work. They'd just like, that can't work.
Yeah.
There'd be no, how do we get to where it can work? How do we both come together somewhere? It would just like, no, go find somewhere else. So it seems like the room you're in seems a little more supportive, and like, as a community together.
Yeah. Like, I feel like
Do you think that's just the people you have, or is that like the culture's getting better?
both.
Yeah.
I think the shops that I started out in, like, I started out at a really cool shop. It was kind of a street shop, but mostly custom based. So I got to see really cool artists make really cool things, and there was a really good rapport with their clients. And I'm like, so I got very lucky right off the rip to see something like a well-oiled machine. And then the next shop I went to was not so much like that, and I won't say what the shop names are, just to kind of like,
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's probably best that way.
yeah. I just felt like there was a lack of respect for the client.
Yeah.
And it's so annoying to me when somebody's like, I don't do that, and they treat the client like they're stupid, because I've felt like that.
What do you
where
think that is? Do you think
It's
that's
their ego.
That's
They want to feel like the big man, and like, I've never met a woman to tattoo and be like that. I've never met a queer person to tattoo and be like that. It's usually like just a bunch of like trad dads, or what they're called, like these traditional dudes that like get together and think that they're the shit. And I'm like, all right, you can be, but you can also be nice. Like, I got lucky with my mentor saying, he'd be like, don't be a dick, be a dude. And like, I'm like, that's great advice. You know, like, you want your client to feel like they are important, because they are. Like, this is a collaboration. It's not, or this is how I've like ended up treating it, and I feel like the people that work around me now also treat it like this. We're doing something, we're creating something together, and it's special, and it can be fun. And like, if somebody doesn't like something that I draw, that what you said earlier, it's like, well, how can we meet in the middle on that? Like, or if they bring me something that I'm like, I can't do this because of this and this and this, but what if we do this because I feel like it would fit on your body better, or this fits my style a little bit more, but I can incorporate your idea in this way. It's a collaboration, like, you want it to feel like they should be as equally involved as you.
Yeah.
Now, there have been clients in the past, I don't really have this happen anymore, where they want to dictate how everything's going to go, and you kind of have to be like, well, this can work, but also, I'm a professional, and like, this is why this doesn't work. And if you want that anyways, then by all means, like, please go, to another artist that maybe you connect with more. And I've had to say no to people because like, we're not seeing eye to eye. That doesn't necessarily mean that it was a bad situation. It's just like, well, maybe we're just not meant to work together.
Yeah.
And it can still be respectful. I think a lot of the artists that are mean to people and like, go somewhere else, like, okay, they will. And then I feel like I have more repeat clients because I'm respectful. I want to have fun. I'm like, are you comfortable? Like, do you need anything?
Yeah.
Is there any way I can make this experience like better for you? Because it hurts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
dude, it can fucking super hurt.
yeah.
I do feel like that same style person you're talking about will say that the industry is just getting soft. But it's like,
maybe.
But I think it's because they were probably taught by people that were hard.
Yeah.
Like, hard to deal with, hard to, maybe didn't want to share things, like, as technique or, like, teachings.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never understood that. Like, in jiu-jitsu, I feel like, I don't know how much you know about that stuff, but, like, a black belt is, like, pro. Like, you're the best there is, basically, in the area. And then a white belt, like, you're a white belt. Anybody that walks into a gym is a white belt. That's just, like, day one thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like you can learn from anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I've been doing it for a while. I can learn from a white belt because even if they don't know anything about jiu-jitsu, they might make a movement that's different than anything anybody else does. And we could be like, hey, why did you do that?
Yeah.
Explain to us your train of thought. And then maybe we can figure out, whoa, even though he didn't mean to do that or he didn't know why he did that, that made sense. You know, like, you feel like that is how your room is?
Yeah.
Everybody's learning from everybody.
Yeah. Like, Allie, she's been tattooing longer than me, but I've been tattooing longer than Dave and Vic, but, like, I learn from them just the same. And, like, Allie learns just the same. I feel like once you feel like you're better than everybody, you need to leave so that you're not better than, or you need to find other people that are better than you and, like, things that you can't do so that you can learn. Yeah. And then you should just stop if you think you don't need to learn anything else. But that goes with anything. Like, I think if you let your ego get in the way, you're hindering your growth. Yeah. Like, I feel like even people who are just getting into the industry, like, they may have a perspective that you're right. Like, I've never seen somebody do that before. Can you explain that? Or, like, why did you put that there? Like, that's really cool. You can be inspired by anybody. Yeah. I just try to take my ego out of the studio as much as I can.
I feel like it's important for growth in general. And you typically you have an ego because you're proud of something you've done, but you should have, like, a silent ego. Because, like, you can always get better, and then you can still be proud of the thing. Yeah. You can get proud that you're getting better, but don't use the ego, like, don't let it take up space in the room, you know? Like, don't let it move things around. Like, let it direct your creativity and, like, be confident in your thing. But, like, I can't stand when people do that talking down to thing. Mm-hmm. You know, like, you should know this already. Why am I telling you this kind of thing? Like, they talk to you like you're an idiot just because you didn't know something. But you weren't in the rooms they were in being taught the same thing they were being taught, and they're learning at a different level. Like, some people can read a book and pick up everything in the book. Some people need to listen to it. Some people need to be hands-on with it. Like, I'm very much a hands-on person, but the books are for show, for sure. But
that top one is a banger.
I bought it because I did the audiobook, and I was like, God damn, that was good. So I was like, I need to pay respects. Got the audiobook, and I was like, I'll buy it in person to give back as well. But very good book. And it's hard. You read it and you're like, yeah, I should live like that. But then it's hard to actually do that. Because one of those things is, like, don't take things personal.
That's the one I had in my brain because it's so hard not to make it about yourself.
Yeah, that's such an ego thing. Because you, like, no matter what happens, somebody cuts you off in traffic. You think they did that personally to affect you. No, they probably trying to get wherever they're trying to go faster than what they feel like you're going. Yeah, sometimes they could just be fucking rude about it, but it doesn't mean, like, they were like, yo, Ray, I'm going to ruin your day specifically. And that's taking it personal. Yeah. Them being an idiot driver, that's not anything you can do. You can't, unless you're going to befriend them and just teach them how to drive. Yeah. That's typically not going to happen from road rage. But, yeah, that is, like, that's one of the, I'd probably say the best lesson you learn and the hardest to implement, because how do you not? No. It's so, how do you not? Because it's like, if you've done it, typically it's unintentional. You're not trying to take it personal. It just happens. You just, in your mind's like, why the fuck that happened to me?
Yeah.
But it's like it's a natural habit to do, so you need to unlearn that habit, but it's very hard to unlearn something that all you know is the other way. You know?
I think you just got to be like aware of it. Because
Yeah.
once you're like, well, all right, let me try to think about this from a different perspective. Well, maybe that isn't about me. Maybe it's about them.
Yeah.
And it's usually about them, like how they're feeling. And I think just, the awareness of it is really helpful to
sure.
change your behavior or change your perspective. Because if you just keep going in the cycle, then you're just going to be like, oh, ruin my day. Like, they did this to me on purpose. Why me? Like, all this happens to me. And it's like, no, maybe that was just like a shitty moment. But like, all right, it's not going to ruin my day.
Yeah. The book is The Four Agreements by Miguel Ruiz, I think. Mm-hmm. Just because I don't even think we said that. We were just talking about a book.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not watching this. But a really good book. It's pretty small, pretty fast read.
Yeah, it's
pretty simple to,
like in 1 or 2 settings if you're diligent about it. But I mean, I think it's good to reference, like, even if you've read it before. And I think that book has kind of helped me just in my personal life and in tattooing. So it's nice to have so many like self-help references, and I love that mental health is becoming more important to people because like any little bit of information where I'm like, how can I do this life better? Like, thank God. Ugh.
I think a lot of that comes from, I think one of the big things we had back in the day from people being so hard is when you don't communicate something, the unknown is scary. Mm-hmm. What do you do to counteract being scared? You become tough. Because if you're tough, then you can battle whatever you don't know is coming. But you're being tough for something that you don't need to be tough for. Like if you have mental problems, I mean like if you have something that's on your mind all the time and it's affecting everything you do, like an issue or like something that's weighing heavy on you, if you communicate more about it with people, maybe they have a better take on it, or maybe they have a better angle. Mm-hmm. Maybe they have words that will help you. Like, I'm sure this has happened to everybody. You're on Instagram and you're watching like these like motivational or like whatever. I don't even want to necessarily call them motivational sometimes, but it'll just be like therapeutic. It'll be like somebody on a podcast or 2 people talking, or it'll be like somebody talking over like scenery, and they'll be saying something that you're like, wow, they just said something that I've been feeling, but I've never known how to say it. And they just did like a perfect lineup of words that you're like, how the fuck did that that's exactly what I've been feeling. So that makes you feel seen or heard, even though it's a video, and you're just like, so you share it to somebody that maybe needs to see that from you. You're like, yo, this is what I've been feeling. I've been trying to tell you or whatever. They didn't have that back in the day. Like, their therapy was never like seen as like a big thing for people to do. It's for weak people. Yeah. But really, those people were ahead of the curve, because maybe you don't need to go to therapy every single day. Maybe you do. It doesn't matter either way. It doesn't qualify you to be weak or strong either way. Some people just take more initiative and care more about that and learn more easier that way, like therapeutically. Like, I've been to therapy and I don't think I really clicked with the lady that was my therapist, because I went like 3 times and she just listened, which is nice. And sometimes that does help. But I was more so, I was like, yo, I'm going to unload. And like the 3rd time I was in there, I was like, at the end of it, I was like, is there anything you can suggest? Maybe so I have homework to do or something. And she just wanted me to keep telling her things. And I'm like, I worked at a place that gave you free 5 free sessions of therapy. And I was like, I'm 3 in.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like this is doing anything other than me telling you. And I'm already exhausted from feeling like I've told you so much that I should be getting something back at this point. So I didn't go again. But I do feel the value of like one-on-one therapy. I just don't think she was that for me, and I don't give up hope on therapy. And I feel like maybe that is some people's experience, but anyways, back to the point of like the thing is like therapy is not necessarily just something you pay for. You can just have conversations with friends, and that communication, I think, makes you stronger. I don't think it's like how back in the day people were hard from just not talking. I think communication is the key to everything, no matter what it is, getting better.
I think communicating's hard.
Super hard for people.
And I think the generation, maybe I'm technically Gen Z. I was born in 97, so I'm like right at the start.
Damn, you young.
I guess so. If 27's young, I feel like
I was born
50.
in 90.
That's nice. Yeah.
That's super vintage now.
Now.
You'll be vintage soon.
I mean, isn't 20 years like vintage?
30 is vintage. If you're talking about cars, you get a blue license plate after it's 30 years old. Okay. So you can get like that. If you ever see a car around town and it's like a Tiffany blue, like that Tiffany blue or whatever.
Yep.
And it'll have like white light or white writing and it'll say vintage on the top. That's because it's 30 plus years old.
Okay.
So soon like Honda Civics are going to be like vintage cars technically.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the generation, maybe not before me or even before me, people don't think that they need therapy and that's their business.
Yeah.
Therapy has been super helpful for me. It took 2 or 3 therapists before I found the lady that I'm with now. And the one I had before, like, she was so kind. And we did telehealth because of BetterHelp, which I found from a podcast. And I was like, I'm struggling. Like, let me just talk to somebody. And they were giving me tools that maybe I didn't know about or I wasn't able to see because I'm so locked into the situation.
Yeah.
And I will overthink a situation until I'll start overthinking it again. It's just like a loop. And so my therapist is kind of like, well, here's a different perspective. Or maybe you're not really like giving yourself grace in this moment to even like deal with it. So people want to like, I have a problem, let me fix it. And it's just like, well, maybe you have a problem, sit with it for a second.
Yeah.
And I think the older generation, they're like, I'll just bury it as deep as possible and it'll go away. And it doesn't go away. If you don't resolve it, it just like builds and builds and then turns into anger and resentment or whatever. Turn unhealthy coping mechanisms.
I have a question because I just out of curiosity, when people say you need to deal with something or you need to get over something, how?
It's an individual thing. Sometimes just sitting with it is kind of the how. I mean, you see, the only way through something is through it.
What if sitting with it isn't? I'm talking to you like you're a therapist.
Well,
I'm not asking,
not
I guess
paid
if
like
you
a
don't.
therapist, so I'm not going to give you the answer.
Word.
No, I think.
Because there's recently been something that's happened and people are like, well, just get over it. And I'm like, I can maneuver everything in my life like differently where seemingly from the outside it's over with, but then inside you're like you still have a thing to deal with.
Yep.
So like for example, I don't have a great relationship with my mom and she's kind of gone missing. So what do you do with that? Like how do you you can deal with it. I don't know what that means. I just know like for to go more on this, like one of my sisters has grieved her parents, even though they're both still alive. She's like openly mourned their death, even though they're both still alive. I don't know how. She's told me this, and like I definitely feel the energy, like when we talk about them. And we have different parents. We share a dad, and then I have a different sister, and we share a mom. But I don't know what that means in my life. I very much, not that I want to have that old school approach, but I very much have that old school, like, I could just bury it because I know how to do that. You just act like it didn't happen. Like in your heart, you just, it's kind of like when somebody I'm all over the place, but since I was a child, I lost all my grandparents, like, I think within like a 4 or 5 year stretch.
Mm-hmm.
All four of them passed away, like, really quickly.
That's hard.
Yeah, but I don't know how to deal with death. I just, in my mind, when I'm at a funeral, I just feel like they went away on vacation and I'll never see them again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily hurt, but I'll cry because there's like a video of like great moments in their life, and I'm like, damn, my dog.
Yeah.
But I never feel the getting over it thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all my grandparents are gone, and I wish I had grandparents, but I don't feel sad. How do you say it? Like, I don't feel... I felt sad that they had passed, and I felt more bad for my parents than I felt for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think I felt bad because I'm like, oh, I just will see them again, even though I won't. And I do miss that, like, family dynamic of, like, going over to grandma's house and, like, there being family events.
Mm-hmm.
Since all of them have passed away, there's been nothing. Like, all the family on every side of every family that's involved in all of that has all disbanded. There's never been a family event at all. There's always, like, pick your favorites and go hang out with them kind of thing. Like, so I don't know what the whole deal with it or get over it or whatever the right terminology is. I don't know how that... What does that mean? Like, how do you deal with something? Like a more simpler thing is, like, if you have an animal, they pass away. How do you deal with that?
I mean, that's such a loaded question. I think...
How do you personally then?
I mean, I actively have things that I struggle with now, but I accept it. And I accept that it's hard and I may not have it figured out. I have something that's been weighing on me, like, this year, and I can't shake a lot of those uncomfortable feelings, but I'm like, I kind of hold space for both. I'm like, dealing with the death of a loved one is probably one of the hardest things we can do. But I think once we accept, like, whatever you believe, that they're physically not coming back, and that really sucks. But, like, I try to focus on the good moments that I had with them, and sometimes the bad ones come up, and I'm like, can I sit with this for a second and, like, play this through? Or sometimes I'll talk to them. Death is just a hard one. I don't really know if there's, like, one way to deal with that, but I think in order to get through something difficult, it's you accept it and accept that you may not get over it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just what it is. That's been really helpful for me. Instead of being like, well, I'm either heavily affected by it or not. Like, I think grief is this big gray area, whether you're grieving the loss of a pet, family member, friend, career, like, past version of yourself, even. Like, that was really hard, to, like, I was very different in my early 20s, and I felt like now sometimes I think I'm boring because I would rather be at home and spend time with my family and my friends. I don't want to go out, like, drinking and partying.
No, that's the best.
It is now, but that was like, so I'm not going to be boring in my 20s, and now I'm like, I value the quality time I get to spend with myself, my loved ones, my cat. I love my cat so dearly. Like, just sitting with him in my room and, like, watching the sun. Like, he's just sunbathing. I'm like, this is just the sweetest moment. And I try to focus on those moments, because if I keep spending my time just in this mind prison of, like, here's all the things that I wish were different, I'm going to blink and then my life is going to be over.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't get that time back.
No, so I think spending some time with the things that are difficult or important, because if you dismiss them, they're going to come up in other ways.
Yeah.
Or it's unnecessary suffering, where you can maybe look at it and be like, I don't know what to do with this right now. And that's okay.
Yeah.
I think I'm just going to sit here or maybe call my mom about it or call my dad about it or a friend or go for a walk or take a nap. There's like an acronym. It's called HALT. It's like, are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Whatever you're feeling, address those four things, and then maybe you'll feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
And if you still feel like shit, journal about it. Because give it time, and it will pass. Things get better. They just do.
Yeah.
I think as we get older, we're just able to hold space for more baggage and shit. And letting go. Let it go. And actually, letting go is so difficult for me because I want to feel like I did all I could. It's different for everybody.
I think it's easy to let go of things that have momentum in other directions. Like if, say, you're holding on to something and it can go, it's easy to let it go because it will just naturally go that way. But if something is just kind of sitting in place, it's not causing any problems in areas or anything like that, and people are like, just let it go. Well, like, what if, I don't even know a good example, but like, if, say, you're holding on to somebody, but they're like moving cross country, it's easy to let go of them because they're doing that on their own, or it's a thing.
Is it?
I don't know. This is hypothetically.
It's hard for
in this hypothetical situation.
Move,
yes,
it's hard to let go of that. For me, like a connection with somebody, and they're like, "I'm choosing to do this." It's like I respect that. I support you.
Yeah.
And I miss maybe what we like had while you were here, and that is hard to let go because like that longing, like that missing, is just sometimes so. It hurts and it's painful and it sucks, you know. But like eventually it gets better with time. But I think different things, depending on how your childhood went, are harder to let go than others. As some people are right. Like, that's easy, and others are like, I struggled with this my whole life.
It's funny you said it like that because I think the reason, like, to use an example, like an ex a while ago moved away, like considerably across country, and it was easy to let go because I was like, well, I'll never see her. Like, I'm not going to bump into her around town, so it's easy to let go of that because I'm not just going to randomly see her and then hurt really bad.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind a little bit.
Yeah, but then a very similar situation as far as, like, moving. Like, my dad moved from here to Jacksonville, and he's been over there for, like, 15 years, and that hurts because I don't get to see him.
Yeah.
Even though he is out of sight, out of mind, it still hurts that I want to see him, but can't.
Yeah.
But then the other thing doesn't hurt because it was very easy to let go because it's like, oh, well, that is now past. Of course, that's my father. So I've spent time with him and I love him. Mm-hmm. And I only spent so many years with the other person. So it's easy, like if you're categorizing it like that. But I think it was easy to let go of that person because, like, it's very similar to the grandparents thing. Like, they're out of sight, out of mind. I just feel like they're going to come back. So I just, like, I kind of bury the thought of them coming back, but I just think, when I think of them, I think happy thoughts. I think of the good memories, and it's very hard to explain how that works in your head, but, like...
It's making sense.
Yeah. It's, like, easy... Because you're a child. You're just like, oh, they're just on vacation. They'll be back.
Yeah.
And, like, the ex, it's just like, yeah, they're gone. So awesome. I don't have to deal with that because they took all that with them. And they're not dealing with it either because they're getting to experience the same. Everything's brand new for them where they went. So it's like everything is awesome.
Yeah.
You know?
Maybe the attachment to different people and different things are different, you know?
For sure.
Because there are some people that have come and gone in my life where it's like, you know, sometimes it's just a little bit easier to like let go and move on, especially if they live in a different state. But I mean, I've had friends in Georgia where we're not as close as we used to be, and that was really hard for me to accept. Like, I was like, but I drive there all the time. Like, I want to come see you. And they're like, I'm just busy. Like, I can't right now. And I'm like...
That's so tough. A friendship move?
It's okay, though, because now, like, getting older, like, I have things going on where, like, I have certain people where they're, hey, can you come out? Or, like, hey, can you do this? Or even my parents, like, hey, can you come out? And I'm like, I can't right now. Like, I'm working, or I have things to do. Like, I have stuff to do around the apartment, or, like, run errands. Like, I can't just, like, I can't today.
Yeah.
And having, like, the boundary to be like, no, I'm sorry. And sometimes, like, think people just come and go out of your life. Like, sometimes they stay for a really long time and then go, or sometimes you stay friends forever or lovers forever. But I think once you get better with not getting attached to people and attached to the ideas of them, it's a little bit easier. Now, that's easier said than done.
Yeah,
but.
for sure. I think something that helps in that area is being thankful. Just being appreciative that you get to experience anything with them. So if it is a good experience, that's the way I like to look at it. And if it's like a bad experience, just try to avoid it. Like moving forward after that.
Yeah.
You know, like if it's a bad, like say you have a bad experience with somebody that you don't have to be around all the time, just try to avoid that after that. But like if you have a good experience with somebody, I try to look at it like you don't own anybody. Of course, like in a relationship, the way it's like shaped is like it's a marriage, lock and key, ball and chain, like that's forever. But you don't own that person. I'm just saying the way it's shaped. Like that's the way it's made to seem like you have all these constraints on like traditional marriage. But so like you're mine, that's my boo. Like you have all these things that make them seem like it's just yours. And like all relationships can be however they're going to be. But I think the way I like to look at it is like, I want to enjoy this for as long as this is around because I'm thankful for this person. And if they feel a certain way and they don't want to do that no more, then that is what it is. Just be thankful it happened. Look at the good things. But I'm like hopelessly hopeful in situations. So I try to always see the good or try to hold on to it to a fault. Like I probably shouldn't hold on to positivity or like positive situations that have happened in the past when it's past due. Like when the thing is expired or like...
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not just talking about relationships. I'm talking about any sort of relationship, like whether it's family, friends, whatever it is. If it's no longer working well and it's only working well for somebody, then you need to definitely say something to yourself. You know, stand up for yourself. Like, this needs to work for me as well, or find something that does, you know?
Know when to take your leave.
Yeah. So you reached out to us to come on. Did you have something specific you wanted to say?
Yeah, I think the beginning of this, and I mean, what we just talked about, I think is important to apply in not just personal life, but in business as well, is learning how to accept things and let go. But I just wanted to like provide encouragement for people who want to get into tattooing, because there's a lot of like discourse online, and I was going to make a video at the studio, and I was like, you know what, I wonder if there are any podcasts where I can just talk to somebody about it, because it's a little bit easier for me to articulate myself when I'm talking to someone and not just a camera. But I just wanted to like just say like tattooing can be gentle and kind and cool and fun. It's not this big scary, you can't come in here. I do think it requires a lot of discipline and hard work and realizing your self-worth, and you're going to push yourself. But I think if you find somebody that you like getting tattooed by, that would be a great option as a mentor if they're accepting apprentices and people who are newer in the industry. Just being like a sponge and just trying to like learn from other people, go get tattooed, and remember to have fun. Like, I've just been seeing a lot of people struggling online, being like, I hate social media. It's really hard right now. And it's like, well, pour your love back into your community, back into your clients, into yourself. And like, why are you tattooing?
Yeah.
Like, is it for money, or is it for the relationships you get to make with your client, the relationship you get to have with yourself and the people that work at your studio? Like, I just really want to promote a loving environment that I know it can be. And it's just like, I just feel so blessed. I'm like, I just want to tell people, you can have this too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like giving people like window into your studio and the way that you've talked about like the environment that you guys have has been helpful because
Cool.
because I feel like people do look at tattooing. Now it's different. Like I can only speak from like the 1990 and on. It did feel like it was hard as fuck. Like when I first started getting tattooed, it seemed difficult. Like the vibe, I was nervous as shit going in there, and I'm like, you get that feeling of like when you're skateboarding, when people would be like, "That dude's a poser." So you walk
That
into a
sucks.
studio, yeah, like you would be like, "I am a poser." Like,
You're a poser until you're not. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like, we're all just trying to be the thing that we want to be.
for sure.
And I felt like that in so many studios where I'm like, hi, can I please have this really permanent thing? And it's going to be in front of people that I don't know, and I'm going to be belittled and made fun of for my ideas. So I felt like I was locked into certain situations, and a lot of my clients have experienced this in other studios, not necessarily here, but in other places, where they just felt intimidated and uncomfortable, and like the whole experience was negated because it was a good tattoo. I'm like, we're missing out on like making this like a really, really cool experience because people come in and we just shoot the shit. Like we just talk and like people open up about their lives, and I get to see them in different versions of their lives and like people they're talking to, or deaths of family members, or marriages, or like partners, or having kids even. And I'm like, that is so special. I'm making friends like as I'm doing this. And those artists that treat you like you're a poser or like you're stupid are struggling because they're treating people like shit. It's like, you have to be kind to people. Now, you don't have to be a pushover, and I think there's definitely a big line where you can still be like firm in like what you believe in, and like this is how we can do this together. But I'm not going to make someone feel stupid for their idea.
Yeah.
Unless it's racist or homophobic or transphobic, then you can fuck off.
Yeah. I think we had somebody on. I'm pretty sure we had somebody on, and I asked them because there was like there's a movement a few years ago where I don't know where it was. And I'm sure you would know more information. If you don't, that's cool too. But there was like a guy that had a shop, and he was like, free cover-ups for anybody that has any of those style tattoos. So it was like Nazi or like, and they would have their shit in like really, like they'd have a Nazi emblem on their forehead. And I'm like,
what a choice.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a charitable thing to help them people out because like some of these people feel like maybe they made a mistake. Like, because maybe it was like super influential in a young age and they got like stuck in a thing like how people get stuck in cults. Like you don't know any better because like maybe you're born into that shit. But what is your take on people helping people out with cover-ups like that?
I literally was watching one of y'all's episodes with Samana, and you asked her this.
Did I? I
Yes.
couldn't remember. I was like, what episode
Yes.
was that? Because we've had several artists on.
I watched the one with Johnny Mumbles and her, and she answered it perfectly. She was like, they can pay for that shit. Because, like, I think if you're going to make a mistake like that, you should reap the consequences.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I got this pumpkin tattoo and I think it looks silly because I'm not really into pumpkins or Halloween like that. Like that, I mean, people, it's a service.
Yeah.
You're still providing a service. I'm not going to cover something for free at this point unless they're like my family or friends. But like, if you're going to cover something racist, like, absolutely you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
You're allowed to change. You're allowed to grow. But like, you are not entitled to an artist's time just because you made that mistake.
That's a very good point.
Because it's like, I don't give a fuck if you were like that when you were younger. Like, that immediately tells me what type of person you are capable of. So, honestly, I probably wouldn't cover that for somebody.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't tattoo over that. I'd be like, no. Because, like, at one point you felt like this. And, like, the Western Rose is a safe space where people come to not be around people like that. So you're going to have to go somewhere else.
Word.
From me. I don't care how much money you have.
Yeah.
And so you also have, like, there's, like, the swastika is a symbol that was taken and, like, completely, like, changed.
It was originally for peace, wasn't it?
Right, but that, I think, is in the Hindu culture.
Yeah.
So if you're getting a tattoo
and it's
representative,
flipped the other way. I think
like
it's
sideways.
Directionally, yeah.
If you're going to get that, then... one, you have to be aware of, like, the connotations of it, and I'm just not going to be the one. But there are artists overseas that will do that. There are artists here that will, and they do, like, ornamental stuff. It's, like, Mindy designs, like what I have on my arm. But I think it's just risky territory, and, like, I would just probably avoid that symbol.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Do you have any regrettable tattoos? I don't mean on that level, but I mean, like, why did I get a fucking piece of pizza on me?
Oh.
Or something?
I mean, I have, like, there's a rat with, like, a cheese laser coming out of him. And I really like that. I don't think I regret any of my tattoos. I think there's a lot of tattoos I have from my ex-boyfriend that I wish I would have not gotten because we don't speak anymore.
Word.
But at that time, like, they were really important to me and they were special, and, like, that it just is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a permanent decision. You can cover it or you can get it removed.
I definitely feel that, like, there are things where I'm like, I have something and then I got it covered up and I didn't even like the cover up. And I'm like, damn, I can't even do too many more things.
That sucks.
Yeah. It's not that it was executed bad. But it's like now the thing that I covered it up with, I'm like, I don't even, like, I now want to do something else with that area. You know? But that's just part of tattooing. That's part of something you learn, and, like, you have a whole body. So you just really think out your tattoos. I hate when, like, you probably get this, well, you are at a tattoo studio, so that's kind of difficult. But, like, as a regular civilian that has, like, other jobs, you'll meet somebody that starts somewhere you work, and they're like, yo, they just start telling you tattoos are getting. You're like, what? Like, you'll just be like, yo, my name's Cody, and they'll say whatever their name is. They're like, yo, you got a lot of tattoos. I was going to get this tattoo. And they just go into what they're going to get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what if this is my past? What if I hate tattoos? I just now am stuck in all these tattoos. It's just so funny how open people are with, you never, like, I mean, we're not obese, but you're never like an obese person and somebody's like, man, I was going to start eating.
I don't know. I mean, you never know. Some people want to be bigger, and that's fine.
True.
Bigger is cute. Tattoos
I've
are
just
cute.
never heard that well, I mean, just an example of something else. Like, you just never really hear a girl see another girl pregnant and was like, man, I was going to get pregnant.
You must not talk to many women because baby fever is real.
Okay.
Yeah, some women see a pregnant woman and they're like, damn, I want that. I think when people see something that inspires them or they get really excited, it's fun to be like, you got cool tattoos?
Yeah.
Well, they want to feel cool too. They want to feel like how you're making them feel. You know what I mean? Like,
I make them feel cool by being around me?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, if
I didn't even do nothing.
You don't have to. I mean, look at, like, growing up, like, when I would see, like, heavily tattooed people, skaters, like, I think you said you mentioned on one of the podcasts that you worked at Zoomies, right?
Yeah.
Same. I wanted to be fucking cool, so I walked into Zoomies and I was like, I want to work here. And they're like, all right, cool. And then I immediately, being around these people that I looked up to, felt cooler. And then
worked at our Zoomies?
No, I worked at a Zoomies in Georgia.
Word.
Yeah. But I just thought, like, being around, like, people that I thought were cool made me feel good. Because I'm like, damn, like, one, there's something in me that I feel like is reflected through you because I think you're cool. And two, I just think people are awesome and tattoos are awesome. And I liked being around people that were heavily tattooed. And, like, I remember being, like, 18 and having, like, shitty tattoos and seeing, like, heavily tattooed people being like, oh my god, I can't wait to look like you one day. Like, you're just so, like, interesting to look at. Word. People don't get to see a lot of interesting people, or maybe they don't notice it, and tattoos are a direct representation for who someone is.
It is interesting because you're not, like, it doesn't change, well, it can change your personality, I guess, but, like, just because you're covered in tattoos, you did something to express something, but it doesn't make you any more, like, I think, I will kind of go back on the thing you just said, and I'll be on your side on it this time. I think people think I'm interesting just because of the way I look. If I didn't have any tattoos, I'm just a regular, bland, white guy. There's nothing inherently... My face is really big, and I have gap teeth. That's the only other, like, thing if you pointed me out in a crowd. There's nothing else that... Again, take away the tattoos. I don't look that, like, descriptive. And, like, my personality is very... just dumb dude. It's very, like, jokey. I'm just an average person. But because I have tattoos, people look at me and they're like, just looking at me without talking to me. Again, the dumb dude thing will come out. But, like, just looking at me, they're like, oh, dude, he's so interesting looking. Mm-hmm. And I guess that is why they express that. Like, that is a good take. I guess I didn't think of it that way. But it's crazy what... I was talking to Hilton, and I think we made a clip out of this. Literally, that can be somebody's personality. Because, like, in not knowing you, like, other than having this conversation, like, I don't know anything about your personality other than you have tattoos, and that's a descriptive thing. I know you tattoo. Mm-hmm. But, like, people will be like, oh, that's the guy in the mall that has tattoos. Or something like that. It's the thing that you can describe them about, which makes you interesting, I guess.
I mean, that's just a physical thing, though. Because, like...
That's what I'm saying. Like, if they don't know you, that's the only... Yeah, that's the only thing to describe you that is interesting. Because I don't have anything else going on. And some people with a lot of tattoos don't really have... I say some, don't have much else going on. They might just be really obsessed with... Like you were when you were younger. You're like, whoa, I really want to look like that. Mm-hmm. Some people, they just work and like, I want to get tattooed. That is some people.
Yeah. I think there's always something beautiful in everybody. Like whether it be a physical thing or like, when you're just around people and they just light up the room, like it can be an internal light. And I think that matters so much more than just what people have going on physically. Like, who are you? What do you believe in? Do you believe in yourself? What do you like? What do you dislike? Like, I think that's what makes people really interesting. And I think people are just fun to look at in general, like whether they have tattoos or not. Because, like, maybe it's just because, like, from an artist perspective, like, I just like looking at people. And people watching is super...
People watching is so underrated. It's one of the best things. It's hard to not watch, though. Have you met somebody that doesn't?
No, because we all like looking at ourselves and each other and other people, and like reality TV's a thing. Like we all just like to, what's going on over there, whether you like it or not. I think people are interested in human behavior, and when someone has tattoos, that tells me a couple of things. If the tattoos are really well done, I'm like, okay, I'm more interested about asking, like, where you got those. You're willing to sit... I mean, if you have tattoos at all, you're willing to be in pain for artwork. So that's a common thing we have immediately. And when heavily tattooed people see other heavily tattooed people, it's like this camaraderie. Or even if you have a small tattoo, like, I have a lot of, like, older people come up and be like, I have this little thing by my ear. I'm not as tattooed as you. And I was like, it still counts. You're part of the club. Like, you're still willing to, like, meet a stranger... pay money for this piece of artwork that when you look at it, it makes you feel cool. Like that's something we all got in common. And I used to like, I'm not as shy as I used to be, but like I would get real like shy and I'd be like, I don't want to talk about tattoos all the time. And now when people go out of their way to say, hey, I really like that, or what is that? Like this lady said my little Totoro on the back of my leg. She's like, I love your chinchilla. I was like, thank you. It's You're
fun. Like, close enough.
I don't wish we were in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was fun. Like, it was just like a cute little moment we got to have together. She said something nice. So, I don't know. It feels good to get complimented, and it feels good to give compliments, and it feels good to appreciate what someone's got going on, whether they got tattoos or not. Like sometimes people are just like funky looking, and I like it. I'm like, I just like your energy, or like, what's going on with you? Like people just want to talk about themselves. So
yeah, I will agree. Like working at the mall, that was one of the perks was just being able to see so many different people, and the seasons change, so you get to see like tourism, and you get to see like it would be your least favorite time to work at the mall, but it was also like so fast paced, like holiday season, like Black Friday and just Christmas. But it'd be so fast. Mm-hmm. Like your shift would be over so quick because you're just moving. But you get to hear, see, experience all these different types of people that you're like, these people will leave this store and exist outside of here.
yeah.
And how they, like, some people I know and meet that I'm like, I don't understand how you got to here. Like, you talk so wild that I'm like, you just seem unsafe to be around, or like they're just so all over the place, like, or they're like, I don't even, just craziness.
Yeah. I'm slowly losing my marbles. Like, as I go through this life, I might lose my shit completely one day.
Do you have any fear that you're going to become, like, senile or, like, literally lose your mind? And what is that called when you're, like a goldfish when you're old?
Like
dementia.
Alzheimer's? Well, dementia is... My grandmother has dementia, so that's...
That means, like, you basically can't remember anything, right?
Not necessarily. I mean, it's, like, everything. It's a spectrum. So, like, she has, like, early, like, onset dementia, where she's, like, starting to show signs of, like, telling the same stories over and over again, not remembering how to do things. Like, one time she left the stove on and, like, not being all there and, like, being untethered to reality. And I think that's scary as fuck. I just hope that I'm able to create art in that moment, because, like, that's what fills my cup. And if I can't do that, then... If I can't do that, and if I can't teach other people how to do it, then I'm really going to struggle to find a different purpose. Because I just love doing it.
So do you think expressing yourself through art was your first love in life? Like, as far as, like we were talking before the podcast, like, I did football. Mm-hmm. I raced cars. Not a lot of people know that. I skateboarded. Mm-hmm. Like, I would consider those three loves. And now I feel like a lifetime love is jiu-jitsu. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to leave that. Mm-hmm. That's probably going to be my last. And yes, all those things are physical. Like, they're all, like, physically active type of things. I wish I could be a little more creative. I experience joy when I create, like, art and stuff, but I don't have any draw to be like, I need to do that today. I'll get in moments where I'm like, why don't I do that? And I do that, and it's fun, and I have a good time in that moment, but, like, I'll leave that moment, and it'll be, like, 2-3 years before I do anything again. But those other things I feel like I have to do. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel a yearning in my heart where I'm like, yo, I need to go do this. Mm-hmm. Those are, like, my four loves. Has art been, like, the one and only? Was there anything before that? Like, ballet or, like, guitar or anything crazy?
Art's been number one for sure. Art, anime. I played soccer. That
anime's
I was
good.
Really, really excited about. Movies. But I think art is represented in everything. Yeah. So it could be from the way you arrange flowers, arrange food, the way you dress, the way you speak, write. Like, there's so many outlets for it. So I think I was really, really happy that my mom kind of nurtured that when I was younger. Art means everything to me. I don't think it's my only love. Like, I love my friends. I love my family, my cat. I really like frogs.
Well, I guess when I'm speaking of it, I mean, all mine are hobbies. I have made money from jiu-jitsu, but it's never been a profession of mine.
Mm-hmm.
It's always just been something like teaching I've made money from. But I mean, like, it's tough because yours is also your profession. Like, you do your art through tattooing, and I'm sure you do art unrelated to tattooing as well, but like those things I all started, and I was like, yo, I'm gonna be a professional whatever I did. Professional football, racing, skateboarder, and all of those things I realized, no, I'm not. And like jiu-jitsu, you can like forever, you still have the opportunity to be a professional, because in jiu-jitsu, like if you get paid, you can technically be called a professional at it. And now a lot of these competitions offer money. So you do have the opportunity, if you compete on a regular basis, to be a professional grappler or jiu-jitsu practitioner. So, like, I guess that's a tough question because you can't express art through anything. Did you ever, like, set out clothes the night before? Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Yep.
Did I remember doing that for middle school? Like, I used to shop at Kmart. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. They used to have blue light specials. Do you remember that?
I don't know if I remember that.
Blue light specials was like the special of the weekend, so you could like get it and then you could set yourself up for the week.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like what every store does, but theirs was just called blue light. They used to have Shaq shoes.
I don't remember that.
Like Shaq was trying to follow in the steps of like Michael Jordan, and he has Jordans.
Like Shaq, like
Shaquille O'Neal,
DJ Diesel.
Yeah, exactly.
DJ now, he's awesome.
But he had like he tried to do the same thing, and they were just called Shaqs.
Oh.
And they were sold at Kmart, so like you could buy a pair. And I used to set out the outfit, and I could not even sleep the night before Monday school. Mm-hmm. Just like thinking about like, dude, I'm about to match so well. Just like
not to stunt on.
Yeah, like I'd have it laid out on my dresser, and I'd just be like laying there looking at it, and like, dude, they're not even ready for Monday.
That's how I feel about flash sheets. I'm like,
really?
I'll start drawing, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna love this. It's just, I get excited about like how it makes me feel. Like, hopefully, I make somebody else feel like through art, but like. Yeah, like setting out your clothes, like you just get like excited because you're like, this is me. This is a representation of me, and like, I'm gonna look so cool.
Man, I guess that is the feeling. That explains it really well.
Yeah, and I mean,
this is me.
Yeah, and you doing jujitsu and like doing like playing sports, like you're using your body and like connecting with yourself, and like you're like, this is what I can put out. I can provide something special in this way, and I think everybody has that. I just don't think. Living here in America, like that's nurtured for everybody. Not everybody has the means to find that, and when someone does find it, and you can tell that they know it, it's special. Like,
you mean whatever they're calling or whatever?
Yeah, whatever they're passionate about.
Dude, doesn't it break your heart to think like some people never find the thing?
Yeah, it does.
I think about that randomly, where I like we'll have people on that are doing the thing they love the most and making a living off of it, and I'm like, wow, they found it. And I feel like some of us, like me as an example, I've gotten close a few times. I felt like I was like, yo, when I picked up a skateboard, I was like, yo, that's it. And it just never panned out. And I feel like with jiu-jitsu, it's like a youth is on your side type of thing. Like you can still make a living off of it, like doing seminars and becoming a black belt and whatnot, but like after having who knows how many people we've had on, like you see people and you're like, damn, you are doing it. That's crazy. And then there are some people that I'm sure, have you ever worked a 9 to 5 or has it always been tattooing?
I think before 18. And I mean, I was working at a deli and Starbucks like before I was an apprentice.
So you've met people that are probably much older than you in certain situations where you're like, they never got out of the 9 to 5. They never probably chased a passion, or if they did, they crashed and burned or whatever it is. Like I've met people at some of my jobs where they were at that job for 30 plus years and like they actively don't like it and definitely let you know about it. And you're like, wow, you've lost the thing that you can't get back, and that's time. And I don't know your situation leading up to this moment, but I know like now moving forward that at least in this pocket of time that I've spent with you, I feel like you could have changed it, could have done other things, but it's like the thing, they get stuck in the habit of just being unhappy.
Yeah.
And that becomes a hobby. Like, how can I bitch about this? How could you change it? You could definitely change it. Like, I feel like now, the time in the universe, it feels like there's a lot of opportunities to do anything differently, especially with things that you can go viral with online. Even if you're not online, you still have the opportunity to do different types of jobs that weren't available in the past, like Uber or Lyft, or like, you have things you can network with people. You can try things. Like, I just feel like we're in a very peak opportunistic time in life. But then you just talk with these people on a regular basis and they just get like on that hamster wheel and they just like being unhappy, it feels like. I'm sure they don't like it, but it's part of their personality to express how unhappy they are. Like it's a hobby. Like it's a sport. But I don't know. I don't know why that is. My dad being one of them people, I'm like, dude, just do one thing that makes you feel good every day. Try that. Yeah. What is that? And he's just so defeating, like self-defeating in his mind. He's just like, there is nothing I like. And I'm like, there's definitely something you like. You don't, if there was nothing you liked, I don't know. There's definitely something, though. You like talking to me? Call me every day. There's something.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's hard, like, getting to know yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's relationships are romanticized, and, like, getting to know your friends, and, like, to really know yourself and know what you like and what you don't like, or this is what you've been told your whole life. And I think, I guess my generation is trying to figure themselves out. I think we're trying to figure out, like, what do I truly want to do? And I think I got really, really lucky with figuring out what I wanted to do at a young age. The powers that be allowed me to go on this path. It just worked out. I think it was like opportunity and like luck and a little bit of like unwavering determination just got me to that point. And sometimes I was like, damn, I don't know if this is going to work out. I don't know if does this make me happy? Because this really fucking sucks right now. Like, I'm coming home, like, crying and feeling like I'm not enough. And I'm like, I don't know. I just didn't
give up.
Maybe I was a little delusional. I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to keep doing it until it gets good. And I never imagined that it would be what it is now. But I think I've been lucky in the opportunities that were placed in front of me. I think a lot of people don't necessarily have those opportunities or the means to have like a side hustle or have the encouragement it takes to maybe like, hey man, let's try something different together. Because doing it on your own is like, sometimes it feels impossible.
Yeah, the support of another person.
Even a friend or having like some sense of purpose. Like, I think it can be really bleak. Especially like with a lot of things that are happening right now. Like, I think a lot of people are struggling to find ways to find joy and not to just like mourn what is going on in our country and in other countries. And it's fucking heartbreaking. So I'm lucky that I have tattooing to fall back on, and I'm lucky that it fills my cup, and I hope other people can find that.
Yeah. If it wasn't tattooing, what would be the thing? Like, do you think you would have done?
I don't know. I didn't really give myself an option, like a plan B. No.
You don't have another love?
I mean, painting, being outside, maybe like planting trees or like just anywhere I could be outside or work with people in a creative way. Because like, I feel like I'm good at being creative, and I feel like I'm good at being around people and listening and just connecting with them. And so I think if I wasn't able to tattoo tomorrow and never again, I would just keep making art in my personal time and like trying to share that with other people. But if it wasn't a creative thing, then I don't know. It'd be really rough.
Why don't you and Dave start a podcast?
I don't have the time. Also, I just like...
That's fair. It does take more time than you would think.
Yeah, it's not... I'm not passionate about it.
Word.
And if I'm not passionate, I don't really want to do it. Like, it'll be... I can half-ass do something or, like, have fun doing something, but it feels like too much pressure. I don't necessarily feel like... I think what I have to say is important, but I couldn't consistently do that and put out content in that way. Whereas, like, I'm having to put out tattoo content and trying to focus on how can I make that a little bit better. So that's where my focus is. I don't know. It'd be a silly podcast, though. Dave is a silly boy.
I think you can say this about almost any podcast, but not everything. I mean, for sure, 100%, you could say this about our podcast. Maybe 5% of this podcast is decent. You can pick up something, maybe. And that's probably just a good chuckle or something. But almost none of it is informational. You know? So it does, like, I know some buddies that have tried starting a podcast, and they're like, we're going to record episodes until we feel like it's good enough to put out. And we're not going to put out the ones, like, they're going to record episodes routinely. And they're never putting them out until they feel like they're good enough, and then they're going to start where they felt it started getting good. And I'm like, to me, I don't feel like, at least in the world of podcasting, that's how... I think people, it's kind of like music. People like to see the growth. Yeah. I'm not going to say we're so much better than when we first started, but I'd like to believe we are. If you go back and listen to, like, our first episodes or watch the first episodes, they're tough. It's tough. I don't feel like...
You.
Huh?
Maybe for you.
For sure for me. I'm for sure speaking for me. I think visually, absolutely rough. Like, it's absolutely like somebody's first film they've ever done. You know, it's like, wow. It's like watching a movie from the 70s and you're like, are we supposed to believe that's a werewolf?
But I appreciate so much movies that were made back then where they might not... Right. So those movies that the directors are probably like, oh, this is shit. And some people are like, this is my shit. You know what I mean? Like, people attach to something and the way it hits them, you can't control. I think it's really beneficial no matter how much you like or dislike it. You can throw it away or you can hide it or you can put it out there, because there are certain podcasts where, like, with comedians or just people that aren't famous, where they're just saying things and it's like, that was a bright spot in my day. That I connected with that, like what you said earlier, like that one thing that you said is what I've been going through and I have not been able to articulate it, but they did. And like a huge podcast that I really enjoy is Tiger Belly.
Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Super.
But like the Kalila, the girl on there, she's impacted my life just through her experiences, her conversations with other people on the podcast, and then now she has one. And like I've been like a follower since they started it, and I'm like, y'all have no idea how much you mean to me, and I don't even know you. Like it's so, and it feels like you're growing with them. So like your friends who are making this and like, I'm gonna wait until I think it's good, you might never put something out. Put it out there, see if somebody likes it, and if they don't, okay, there are millions of people out there. Somebody's gonna like it.
When we're done with this podcast, remind me that you like Tiger Belly.
Okay.
Please. Do you have a good memory?
No.
Fuck.
I'll try.
Well, whenever you listen back to this, if you ever do, just remind me that you like Tiger Belly. I got something. Cool. But yeah, absolutely. Like you could argue and say that Bobby Lee just is just a jumbled up mess of words that you're just like, I'm not going to get anything from this. But that sometimes can make your day.
Yeah, and
just the silliness of like some people. And
I think what I appreciate about him, and there are certain things that he's done that are super problematic and that I don't agree with.
Oh, for sure. He's
but-
getting in trouble right now.
Well, whatever. Like, there are certain things that he said that did resonate with me, like his struggle with himself and his self-worth, and what he put out, people truly enjoy, and he's a great representation of just someone who didn't give up. And I think that that's really inspiring.
Yeah.
And he's just like, some of the things that come out of his mouth, I'm just like, what? And it's hilarious. Or I'm like, I didn't like that, and I'm just move on. Like, okay, didn't like that, but he's talking to an actor that I really look up to, or another comedian, or giving someone else the space to talk about their experience. So yeah, I don't know. I appreciate when people are just authentically themselves, because I feel like I really enjoy seeing people enjoy themselves and enjoy what they're doing.
I do absolutely feel like that's a great podcast for that. Because he seems right in his element in that room. Like, you definitely see him put on a little extra when he's guests on someone else's podcast. But I do feel like, because that's his crew, like they are all like such a tight-knit little family.
Yeah, like Gilbert, and like they shit on George like all the time. But like George is like one of the producers that like makes it happen, and I know that there's an appreciation for him like off camera. Like, they're playing these characters, and like, we don't know them, but like, they're putting this show on for us. Yeah. And I am so grateful to be in a time where like I can watch any of those episodes. Like, when I'm at home, like painting, or we're just getting ready in the morning or going for a walk, like I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook or music. But like, I love podcasts because it feels like you're hanging out with people.
Yes, it does.
And it's nice.
It's so hard to describe that. Like, somebody asked me the other day, do I listen to music or podcasts? And if I have the time, like, I'm always going to put a podcast on. And I think that comes from like a childhood memory of like being around my dad and always wanting to listen to him talk to other adults. And just the way they interact. I would always just like be standing there and just like wanting, I don't know where that innate feeling comes from, but it was inside back then. And then you would listen to like, at least for me, Lex and Terry. Like, just hearing people talk. It was a radio show. Just hearing people talk, banter back and forth, and they would have like guests on inside their own little universe. It wouldn't just be like us on there. It would be like D or like other people, but it's all within the little thing, and you're just like, it's like a audio episode. I mean, that sounds so silly to say, because yes, that's exactly what it is, but it's like watching Friends, but just without an image. It's, why does this feel like groundbreaking to me, but not really? It seems like in my head, I'm like, yo, I'm thinking through a thought, which is really dumb. But yeah, it's like cool because you can just imagine in your head, you're making up the scene without there being a visual representation of it. So it's helping you be creative. It's super dope. Are there any other like recs on podcasts?
I really like Trash Tuesday.
Didn't it used to be called Bloodbath or something?
Yeah, and then there was like
a dispute with the name.
Yeah, and then there was like paperwork or legal shit that they went through. What have I been watching?
By the way, Esther is slept on.
I love her.
She came from a TV show, and I can't remember what the fuck that show was. It was her and a boy.
Was it New Girl?
No, this was like just them. But she was like the co-star, and so was he. They were so fucking funny on it. And I was like, I'd never seen her before on anything else. And it was years, I think, before I saw her on a podcast. And I was like, oh my God, it's the girl from the show. And I don't think a lot of people even know of the show. But I don't think it was New Girl.
Maybe...
I'm going to look it up while you're talking. But I don't even know how to say her fucking last name. Esther Pavitsky.
I'm trying to think. I really like Bad Friends is okay. From time to time it's a little like too much. There's a guy from...
It's called Alone Together.
Oh, really?
Did you see that?
I recognize the title, but no, I don't. I haven't seen it.
But that dude is hilarious. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
showing the dude, him, but like they're
Yeah, he's pretty
great
funny.
together in the show. Like I felt
Check
like
it
they
out.
could have did a podcast.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I like Drew Offawalo. She's really funny. Oh, B and Ian with Jordan Jensen. They're ridiculous together. Like they remind me
Oh,
of
Ian
Dave
Finance.
And I.
Yeah. Dude, yeah, they're awesome together.
He's really funny. I'm blanking on.
I feel like some
podcasts
people
I
are
watch.
only good on their pod, and then there's some people that never are bad on any mic. They're like Ian. He's good
Yeah.
on every podcast I've seen him on, and I didn't know him from anything other than that. I saw somebody I liked on that podcast, and I was like, I'll watch that because I like that person. And then I was like, oh wow, he's pretty good. And then I started seeing him on other pods, and I was like, damn, I need to look into him.
You should check out Godfrey.
Godfrey? Okay.
If you like Ian Finance, like definitely different vibe, but Godfrey is like he's so intelligent and like there's just like this natural banter between him and whoever he's talking about. And I think it's just like whatever personalities, that you feel like you connect with, like through whether they be comedians or just guests in general. Like sometimes, like I don't watch the Joe Rogan podcast, but he does have really good guests like Duncan Trussell.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
I love their costumes they put on. Did you see the very last one they just dropped?
No, he's kind of sometimes insufferable.
Yeah,
but...
they're like he's in like a full body suit thing.
Oh, what is it? That gecko guy. He's really funny.
Gecko.
It's like therapy gecko. He like
Oh
wears,
yeah,
like,
the
all
green gecko.
He's really funny.
Yeah. Fuck, what is that one called? Keep talking. You were like saying something and that was like jogging something. Not the green gecko.
Duncan Trussell, Godfrey.
It's a really good podcast. And have you seen Butterflies Are Ninjas? Or Ninjas Are Butterflies?
Who is it?
I think they're just podcasters.
No, I haven't. But Rainn Wilson just came out with one. Neil Brennan does one.
This is what the crew themselves look like, but it's called Ninjas Are Butterflies. I hate when it won't load so it's not clear. But that's the people. They have like clips on Instagram and they go viral all the time. It's typically like conspiracy theory things. They're like, did you hear whatever? And it's like the wildest shit you've ever heard. And almost 95% of the time, it's real fact that they're just reading from the past.
That's crazy.
Or they'll be like, did you hear that Elon Musk is buying Mars? And you're like, what? And they're like, he just submitted paperwork to whatever. And it's like, oh my God, is this going to be real?
I really hope not, because there's a lot of shit he could buy that would help out America.
That was hypothetical, but yeah. That's insane. Like, there's a bunch of really good podcasts out there.
There's like stories, like The Moth is a really good channel where they just tell like really interesting, sometimes sad or inspiring stories of just people in their lives, and they just stand up and like tell stories. I just like listen to people tell stories and like not having to participate, but just to like actively listen and be like, oh, like does that like apply to me? And like, how can I connect with that? Or, oh, that's a new perspective. Or, oh, I don't agree with that. But I don't have to sit there and, like, converse with them. I can just kind of, like, take what I want and leave what I don't.
Do you have, do you watch YouTube at all?
Yeah.
So do you like commentary channels that, like, dive deep in on people?
Sometimes, like, Bose versus the World, she's pretty funny. But she also, like, she'll review, like, crime stuff. Rotten Mango is good, but sometimes it's really heavy. I do like commentary on like Rotten Mango did one on Jeffrey Epstein, and I didn't know anything about him other than what he did.
Yeah, like what you just hear.
Right. The main title is like, the sex trafficking.
Yeah.
But I got to know about like how he got started and like the people that he knew, and I don't know. I think it's really interesting when someone will do like a full like synopsis. Like when Shane Dawson was like, and even David Dobrik, like that
Dude,
whole thing.
Casey Neistat is sitting on a documentary. Do you know about that? About David Dobrik. He originally was going to do the documentary on David and like how David came from just being a regular person and being like the number one person on YouTube at the time. And the whole Jeff Wittick thing happened. And when he was creating the documentary, this was while he was filming it happened. And he's like, it changed the plot of the movie. It's nothing I intentionally wanted to do, but it happened, so I had to tell that story. So, I mean, of course, nobody really knows what it was about. It was aired at, what is that, South by Southwest? It's like a film festival in Texas. Well, they aired it to like whoever was there. And I don't know how many people was there, but he's sitting on it. So he hasn't released it anywhere, and he's like, it's going to come out, but we haven't come to terms with any of the people that would be willing. And he goes, I might just put it out on YouTube. But apparently he's not putting it out because so much stuff keeps happening that by the time you'd be done with the documentary, you'd be like, yeah, but so much has happened, like, that the story would make sense. It's still ongoing because he's still suing David. There's a whole mess of stuff. But I was going to put you on game, as the youngins say.
Is that what they say?
I don't know. I'm not one of them. So I'm one of the oldens or whatever. I don't know if you've heard of... I think I'm spelling this right.
Oh, if you like tattoo content, you should check out Vice. They did a Tattoo Age like series where they do a deep dive on different artists and like their process and just follow them like through like their tattoo career, and it's really, really inspiring. It's cool. You should check that out.
I saw a few of the Vice things, and I'm absolutely dog shit with my memory, so I can't remember the guys that or people they were doing it on. But I remember them doing like, they go to the shop and it just kind of be one-on-one with the person, and they'd be like explaining their shop and their like history. Vice does a lot of good stuff, but I think Vice like fucked up their own money, didn't they?
I have no idea.
I don't think they're doing it on that level anymore. I think it's like
I don't know.
Dive down a lot. Well, anyways, this dude Oompaville, if you like silly, he's silly. When I say silly, it's like the way that he expresses himself when he's talking.
He looks broy.
I'll
give him a shot.
He's very not broy. What does that even mean?
He just looks like a bro.
You don't even know what he looks like.
Isn't that first guy?
Huh?
Is it not that guy in the left?
No.
Oh.
He's not in any of these thumbnails.
Okay.
He is right there. He's openly, I guess he's autistic, is at least how he says it. I think he's super, not high functioning, but like, you ever meet somebody that has ADD and it's like off the fucking charts, like they just cannot stay on one thing?
Yeah.
He's like that, but he uses all that energy for like, I wouldn't say studying, but like researching these things. He puts out like 45-minute videos every day on things that you could take a month to write. And I don't know why YouTube on a TV doesn't work as fast. Because like one day ago, 45-minute. He also has more than one channel. This is Oompaville. He has Oompaville TV and I think another one. But like, he puts out, like, such high-level content so fast. Like, just to give you an example of what he looks like and, like, how he moves. He's just fucking hilarious. But he also gives you all the details. You can very much decide when you're watching it what is, like, satire and what is fictional. Because he, like, reads facts and shit. But, like, I think you could watch it and get the real deal of the thing. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, it's kind of like, do you remember The Daily Show?
Yeah, with Trevor Noah
or Jon Stewart or like the Stephen Colbert Report. Like, you can very much get real facts from those things, but like if you feed too much into whatever, I'm not political, but if you read too much into whatever side they're on, you can get lost in that, and then that be like you're championing their side or you're anti their side. But it's a fun way to get your news if you just read the thing.
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Yeah, it's very much
News
like what he
served
does
on a comedy plate.
And he also adds a bunch of like you said earlier, you're like, the people gonna love this. There's a video where a dude's like, the hoe's gonna love this.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing.
Okay, I thought so, but I didn't want
hoes.
to I didn't want to sound like a dude that's just hitting you with memes, and you'd be like, what the fuck is he talking about?
I know what you mean.
But he like litters all his videos with that.
Okay.
That type of stuff. Like, it's always cuts, and he's very fun. Anyways, is there anything you want to shout out before we get out of here? Like, anything coming up? Your shop, people, events, artwork, pages.
I don't know off the top. I maybe just go follow like the Western Rose and like go follow my friends and people at Fortune and Sacred Tattoo and donate to local charities at like the Pensacola Liberation Center. They do a lot of good stuff. Shop local. Be kind to people. And have fun.
Hell yeah. Before we get out of here, I'm going to do a shout out to our sponsors. But while I'm doing that, these 5 markers, if you want to just like sign your name up there. I just say these 5 because it's like these are the best of those markers.
Okay.
So whatever color you want to use.
I want blue and green.
Okay. And I'll do our ad read while you're doing that. Okay. So, yeah, you're good. You can just kick that shit straight up.
Where do I draw?
Anywhere on that wall of fame in that white part. All right, guys. If you want to get a sick-ass tattoo, you can go to Johnny Mumbles at Sacred Ground Tattoo Studio. He's about to do my back tomorrow, actually, I do believe. It's going to be my full back. I can't wait for that to get started. If you're trying to get any sort of work, I absolutely suggest hitting him up. DM him, go in there in person, talk to him, check out the studio. It's overlooking the 3 Mile Bridge. It's right where the John Lennon's Rolls Royce is. I think it's a dope shop, dope people. Mackenzie's there. She's an apprentice that just turned tattoo artist. She just said she's awesome.
We love Johnny.
Yes, we love them people. They're dope people. But go in there, check it out. See what you can get done if you want to get something done. They're super reasonable and very cool environment. Also, I want to shout out a new sponsor that we just signed, Cesanado Tequila. It's a local tequila company based out of Pensacola, Florida. Danny Warsnop and Corey Hamovi just recently got it going, and they're doing big things over there in the studio. You can come back in camera if you want.
Oh, no, you can.
Oh, you're good. But pretty soon we're going to have bottles on the table, and we're going to do a little taste test on air, see what it's about. If you guys want to hit them up, AsesinadoTequila.com. They also have merch, so you can get t-shirts, tank tops, shirts. But it's spelled ASESINATO, and then tequila. Check that out, AsesinadoTequila.com. Definitely looking forward to that. It's going to be pretty dope. They have some sick-ass logoing. I know the people that have done all that stuff, George Donahue, and the gang is doing big things over there, but check it out. I mean, they got celebrities out the yin-yang holding the bottles, bro. They got all the coolest photo shoots. Jelly Roll, Teddy Swims. Do you know Danny Warsnop?
Nope.
He's from Asking Alexandria. He's a lead singer.
Oh, now I know.
Yeah, dope people. But if you want to check it out, AsesinadoTequila.com. Tell them the boys sent you. We should be having a discount code pretty soon, so be on the lookout for that. I'm sure we'll post it everywhere by the time you see it. Can't thank you enough for coming on. I know you guys can't see her. She's off camera, but she is signing the wall.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. we're going to get out of here, but thank you so much for tuning in, checking it out, watching it again if you are. Go check out her stuff on Instagram. Go check her out at her shop. Get tattooed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was great.
Had a dope time. Thank you so much. We love you guys. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Bye.